have freedom, that using free software means you're cooperating with your community, that you're ready to help your neighbors if they want your help. These people are going to resist very hard if anybody makes them use non-free software. So those are the people who will really fight for freedom.
What final message would you like to send to viewers which will be watching this program here?
I'm happy that I took the campaign for human rights into the area of computer use, into the area of how we use software. But the broader fight for human rights and civil liberties is still going on. We need your help.
Next up, a great story about a business that saved thousands by using Linux to run Windows on a thin client network. I know it all sounds very confusing, but if you think about it, it's actually Baya Salam. Open source is open for business, and Linux, the flagship of the open source operating systems, is very happy to peacefully coexist with other operating systems. It's like a big friendly neighborhood. And speaking of which, let's visit Pipeline Technology.
When it comes to computing, thinner can sometimes be better. When a large number of computers are being used for everyday use, the thin client model can prove to be very cost-effective. One powerful server can supply enough horsepower needed for a computer lab, an internet cafe, or even an office. And with fewer moving parts, there's less to go wrong. Pipeline Performance Technologies do testing and analyses for water, gas, and oil pipelines. It's a job that requires specialized gathering of data in the field, which is then processed on proprietary Windows computers. But when they needed to upgrade their software, they found their existing hardware was too old and needed upgrading. They spoke to Linux business solutions providers 7C.
When they mentioned to us that they needed to upgrade their entire IT network, we carried out a cost comparison between Windows software running on the workstations versus a Linux-based thin client solution running on the workstations.
Paul suggested that instead of throwing out the old PCs, to convert them into thin clients and install a powerful server to handle the software.
When the workstation boots up, Linux actually boots up, and the moment the person logs in to the workstation, a connection is established with the Windows 2000 server, and the applications actually run on the Windows 2000 terminal server, but the display of these applications gets rendered to the Linux thin client on the workstation. So although it appears as if they have Windows software running on the workstation, in fact they are not.
One of the reasons why we still have Windows, though, is that we have some proprietary software for certain of our instruments which run in that environment. And also because we do a fair amount of work overseas, we receive a lot of documentation and information using proprietary software.
For businesses, there are many good reasons to use open source. For Pipeline Performance Technologies, the most compelling reason was price. And how much have you actually saved by setting up the Linux thin client server?
It cost us 30% of what the price would have been if we had gone for standalone desktops.
Could you give us a ballpark estimate?
In our case, it was 100,000 Rand, and the thin client solution ended up costing us 30,000 Rand. So a saving of 70,000, which is very significant for a small company like ours.
The Battle of Britain may have been won on the playing fields of Eton. Bloody stupid place to fight a war. But the Battle of Software is being fought and won on very different playing fields. Take our next guest. This guy's really remarkable South African, Charles Majola. He was educated locally and then taught himself how to program and then produced a piece of software that's being used all around the country, and I think that's amazing. Thanks for coming, Charles. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Basically, you kind of just, through curiosity and you just went and became this programmer who just wrote something that everyone's using.
Yes. For that, I had to learn quite a lot. So at the time, we didn't have computers from our township school. So what happened is there was this resource center there, which we found that we can go there to access computers and to use the internet. What happened is I used to download open source programs, especially the ones I was interested in, to see how they work and how they were written, so they work the way they do. Then from then I could learn quite a lot about software engineering in general.
Charles, you've been recognized from being teaching yourself how to program to helping to create quite a significant program that's been recognized all over the country. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I found a job at this one company where they work with accounting software. They actually produce accounting software which is open source. Within 3 months there, I was working on the core of the system. It was quite a challenge at first, and I got recognized by CSIR for the work I did, and that's when Mark Shuttleworth actually found out about me, and then he thought, well, it would be a good idea to have me on the team. I worked there as a developer. We develop Ubuntu, which means we get different software applications to work with Ubuntu, and then we try to do bug fixing from the users who use Ubuntu when they find that there's bugs or problems with the software.
But what's the ultimate thing you think you could do, with programming?
I can write quite sophisticated software, from security to firewalls to SMS handlers, like SMS services. Right now I can work on actually packaging software for a specific operating system which is distributed by maybe a specific company, like Ubuntu Linux, which I'm working on now.
Thanks for joining us. All the best with Ubuntu. We hope it goes well, and hopefully we'll see you in lights in the future. Cheers, Charles. Thank you very much. Coming up in a moment, it'll be break time as we have fun with our computers. Lunch boxes and small things on the jungle gym. It'll be lovely. Often, people who are looking at open source are concerned about support. How do I get help? Where's the support desk? What's the best bra for me? Well, there are a few ways, and here to tell us about that is Mark Shuttleworth.
So what do you do when things go wrong? Open source isn't produced by a company, so it's not immediately obvious where you would go to get technical support. And what we're going to show you today is how the open source community, which is the thousands and thousands of people who write open source software, participate in helping the people who use the software.
Your first port of call should be the website of the hardware or software you need help with. If it's a more general query, there are a few sites like linuxhelp.net, linuxforum.com, and justlinux.com, who provide free forums run by volunteers. Remember, the more details you provide, the more your online guru can help you.
A great place to start for support and help on any of the software that we feature in this show is the Go Open Source website. Check it out today at www.goopensource.org.
If you have any questions about anything you've seen or heard in this program, in fact, anything even about this space here, you can find us to ask us questions at Mr. Go Open at worldwideweb.goopensource.org, and we'll tell you as much as we can. Also, there you can find details of how you too can own all 312 glorious cinematic genius moments of the open source program for the bargain price of 199 Rand. It's all quite worthwhile, we think. And apart from that, we thought it was time to have some fun now. So we'd like it very much if you'd come along with us while we play with our noodle.
In the pot today is Noodle, and I'm talking to two of the key developers, Ross Addis and Bongani Hlope. Ross, let's start with you. What is Noodle Linux?
Well, we decided to create Noodle Linux because businesses are climbing on board with Linux distributions, and it's becoming very business-orientated and boring. So we wanted to go to something that's very funky, off the wall, something that home users can enjoy, find humorous, find fun.
Bongani, you code for Noodle Linux. Now, what have you added to make it special and different?
I work on the kernel stuff, which is backend, so you won't see any pretty pictures that I do.
What does one do if they already have a proprietary system on their PC?
You can repartition your drive and use some free space there, just play with Noodle, and everything should work perfectly for you.
When you guys were first developing it, what did you learn from other distros that made you want to change to a graphical interface?
Our very first distro, MP Linux 1, was based on Debian, and we decided to make something completely uniquely South African. So we went with MP, and the base of Noodle Linux is in fact MP Linux 2. We've taken out a lot of the boring stuff, like the server stuff, and then we've put in far more games, educational utilities for kids, stuff which every home user will need and want, and we need a lot of feedback from users of what they want in the distro. How can we make it more fun? How can we make it more appealing? In order to do this, we have a weekly cartoon on our website, so people have some incentive to visit our website every week and look at our updates and have a look at the cartoon, which is sometimes a bit funky. the wall.
So we've got the stove on, we've thrown our